Chapter 5 Understanding Our Commitment. It is a matter of great sorrow that although man desires the happiness of heaven, he does not put the effort towards the best work of his human life. Yogacharya Sri Pachanan Bhattacharya.
To recap, we come into human consciousness for another visit and enter the game. We are leaving behind a state of being where time, concepts, and many other perceptions are different than the current consciousness we will be experiencing. We have the confidence that it is a dream we are going to experience. We will return to the consciousness where we truly belong. If we use the sleep example, we go to sleep trusting that we will wake up again in our conscious form. We recognize that during sleep, we will forget our daytime waking consciousness. We are comfortable with this. This is a similar experience to entering Maya. We know we are going to be here in this earthbound experience for a period of time and that we will wake up in the natural spiritual state of who we truly are. We must remember that Maya has been programmed to make sure that the game is maintained. Since Maya is not truth, it requires a certain amount of energy to maintain it. If Maya does not have this energy to keep it maintained, it would disappear. Our fee for entering and participating in Maya is to give it the energy to keep it going. Maya is fixed. It does not change. It follows the internal instructions that it has within itself to help those of us who come into this world of illusions to play the game. Through Maya, we have the opportunity to achieve a state of grace. Human beings have free will. Maya does not. As a result, we are the one who influence how things turn out. The amazing thing about this is that, unfortunately, most of us do not realize that we are the ones creating what is happening to us. Maya keeps us trapped in the world of illusion so that we can be challenged to recognize that we truly have divine grace within us. Instead, we believe that things happen to us and that our life is out of our control. When we enter Maya, we bring with us the following: 1. Free will. 2. Emotions. 3. Agendas. 4. Capacity for intellectual understanding. And 5. Wisdom. We have achieved wisdom from the experience of spirit in previous lifetimes. We bring this with us, but we are unaware these gifts are at our disposal. Free will is a unique gift that we have in our lifetime. It means that the ultimate decision is in our hands. Despite what circumstances may influence us to do, we do have the free will to decide how we respond. Suppose someone was attempting to harm you. Your life was in danger. You were enraged and somehow acquired the strength to subdue this person. Your feelings of rage made you prepared to harm him. You have free will. You have to choose whether to do so or not. The ability to restrain oneself, even in the most difficult circumstances, is an example of free will. Understand that we have the power to override reactions in Maya. An animal does not have the discernment. It may back down because it is afraid, but not because it has free will. When we recognize that we have a choice to control Maya, if we know the rules of Maya, then we can take control of our lives. It liberates us. Maya does not then control us. I am sure that we all know people who have been on the spiritual path and then great success begins to happen for them. Suddenly, they become ego attached to wealth or power. If they are choosing attachments to Maya, they are exercising perfectly their free will. People who have been on the spiritual path will recognize that when dying, worldly wealth is valueless outside of Maya. We can also liberate us and be wealthy. It is the emotional attachment to that wealth. The fear of not having or needing will keep us trapped. This is the gift of free will. I have a friend who is very wealthy. He donates a large amount of that wealth to different charities. He once told me that he at no time worries about making huge sums of money. He never fears that he will lose it. When he makes these comments, it comes from his heart rather than his intellect. It is his truth. It is always amazing to watch how his money multiplies even in difficult financial times. Wisdom is one of the key qualities within human consciousness that will liberate us. There is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is a series of intellectual concepts, whereas wisdom evolves from an emotional experience. Sometimes we have an experience, but we are unable to comprehend intellectually why it is happening to us. Then suddenly, later, we have a powerful revelation of what that experience meant. This takes place as an emotional experience or insight. We may find that we can never fully explain that revelation to another person. However, it changes us in a profound way. The three reflections came to me through this process. There are many people who claim that they are having spiritual experiences. The majority of people who feel these ways are having what is called a pseudo-spiritual experience. Our powerful mind and intellect can convince us we are having a spiritual experience, but true spiritual experiences are difficult to describe. They are very subtle, have an emotional basis, and sometimes no rational or intellectual explanations can make sense of them. When the person achieves wisdom, they experience peace and know that they do not have to prove it to anyone else. Many people say that during their meditation, they can consciously open up their chakras, which are spiritual centers, and create experiences. They are truly not having spiritual experiences. Their mind and intellect are convincing them that what they are experiencing is a spiritual phenomenon. They genuinely believe it. This is one of the traps within Maya, using the intellect to convince ourselves that we are having true spiritual experiences. There are those people who go to numerous workshops on spirituality. They learn a little from each, and using the analogy of the futuristic vehicle, they may put the lights on or the indicator switch and think they are evolving. Spiritual workshop tourism is a big trap. Ultimately, whenever anyone realizes that they have reached a state of realization, they will recognize that with the help of a few, that they achieve this state from their own diligent commitment by working on themselves. The investment you put into yourself produces the results. I have been extremely blessed to meet many very spiritually evolved people. I am always overcome by their simplicity and their emotional radiation of truth and love. Many of these adepts or saints who have described their spiritual experiences to me say that when it happened, they could not explain or understand it. Over a period of time, they assimilated the information. Gradually, as wisdom began to evolve from the experience, it began making sense to them. They did not immediately exclaim that they had opened their heart chakra and then the crown chakra had opened, and they had a clear logical understanding of what had taken place. The intellectual understanding came on in time, after wisdom from the experience was integrated into their being. There is a vast difference between true spiritual experiences and pseudo-spiritual ones. We can easily get trapped into believing intellectual understandings and knowledge is the same as wisdom. Wisdom is one of the things that are taken out of the world of illusion by spirit. It is added to our tools in the unconscious. When we enter Maya, we may not be aware of this wisdom. It is available to us and many times even surprises us when answers arise in our consciousness. Usually, there is an emotional and intellectual experience of the answer. The experience is a feeling of truth and needs no analysis. I keep pointing to the fact that the emotions are so important. As I have said, human beings are primarily emotional creatures, not rational ones. We build our logical thinking from our emotions. Suppose we feel uncomfortable around someone. Our first trigger is the feeling. We then begin to look at how the person is acting. We create logic to justify our emotions. After we register an emotional response, we then begin to justify with intellectual reasons why we might not like that person. We find a reason to confirm our emotions. Suppose you attended a meeting and felt that another man's behavior was irritating you. You need to accept that you were bringing that emotion into the room. The man was not the cause. He was the logical choice to justify your emotion. Just being aware of this process can help you from adding a drop of poison to the bucket. There is a new and developing area in medicine called neurocardiology. In neurocardiology, we are now able to recognize scientifically that our heart has a neurological system that acts independently of the brain. This neurological system is powerful in its coordination of feelings and cognitions. A quick summary. The emotional states evoked by the heart system travel by different nerve pathways to the brain and body. The brain then processes and coordinates various aspects of the experiences to create an intellectual understanding of the emotion. Many of us can feel the same emotions, but due to our life experiences and our intellectual understandings, the pieces might be assembled differently. As a result, each of us may label the emotional experience in another way. If this sounds implausible, remember that the heart's neurological system gives off a magnetic field that is 5,000 times stronger than the brain's magnetic system. The system sweeps through all the cells of the body and carries information to these cells. In Eastern philosophy, we call it the heart chakra system. Future science will recognize that each chakra system is like a separate brain that functions independently of the brain in the head and regulates various aspects of emotions, physical states, as well as spiritual ones. The Institute of Heart Math has done pioneering research in this area. Human beings are emotional creatures. Although our society places preference on intellectual understanding, we actually come to know the world through our emotions. We are born with powerful emotions. These are so influential that they can function as indicators of discrimination for us. How many times have we met people we just do not feel good about, or others with whom we immediately connect? We do not know the person intellectually, but we responded to that non-verbal feeling level. Remember the analogy of the child being born into this reality. Gradually, as this child grows, he or she begins to create intellectual experiences that are a result of the behaviors of parents and significant others. The child's logical understandings that grow out of emotional experiences may produce types of prejudices. Through working with the emotions, we can move towards liberation. We will connect with layers of thoughts and prejudices. We are trained in this culture to assume that logic is superior. The next chapter will present a technique to connect more mindfully with the emotions. I promise to expand on agendas. Agendas have been described as archetypes or major life themes such as self-worth, validation, aggression, or dependency. These will play out in certain behavioral patterns. Dependency can trigger drug addictions. Aggression may manifest in illegal or abused situations. When our self-worth is externally bound on what others think of us, validation could be an issue. We need to understand that when we emotionally connect to our agendas, we produce one of the keys that can liberate us from Maya. When we understand the themes operating in our life in a deep emotional way, we get that flash of wisdom that may connect us to the agenda. Our agendas attract people to us in this life as well, and they work like signals that others will connect and respond to. Agendas are like the glue associated with karma that keeps us stuck in Maya and represent the synthesis of our karmic experience molded into a life theme or lesson. Let us use an example of a child growing up in poverty. She begins to notice that those around her who have or have not. She longs for security and wealth, intellectually and emotionally. The child may have experiences of being looked down upon because her clothes were cheap. The family could not afford buying tickets to a school concert or other activities. Gradually, against great odds, she graduates from university and then goes further to create a successful, prosperous company. She now gives to charity and becomes famous and recognized. Her self-worth is reinforced as the culture around her recognizes and validates her as worthy. This person's poor self-worth has been driving her to achieve external accomplishments and recognition. The true issue of self-worth or validation is not addressed. If she is confronted with one simple criticism, her whole reality collapses and she feels despondent as if she had never achieved all these wonderful accomplishments. If only she could understand that she can achieve whatever successes she desires. She must address the issue of self-worth and release that agenda emotionally. People would say to me that they enjoy giving to others. When they did something for themselves, they would feel guilty. Others talk about how one critical remark could destroy their day. The attachment to the desire in Maya tightens the trap. Let me explain in a different way. This person has come into the world with an agenda of poor self-worth. Maya then creates the opportunity. The woman chooses to enter the family that will reinforce poor self-worth. With free will, she thrives to be successful. She does not recognize that emotionally it is poor self-worth that keeps her striving towards this material goal. In our culture, we call this motivation. Sometimes we need to be motivated by challenging our negative experiences to be successful. This is a highly inefficient way. It is a process that keeps us trapped in Maya. As we continue, I will suggest ways to do this without that energy drain and associated emotional distress. Maya, The world of illusion simply exists to keep the game going by creating illusions. For example, suppose I tell you to go to a football stadium. When you get there, you will understand a principle about enlightenment. You go to the stadium. There is no one around except on the playing field. When you look at the field, you see a group of people chasing a red ball. You then think, this is what I sent you to do. You join the game and begin chasing the red ball. There is a lot of struggle. Your self-worth or agenda is caught up with it. You feel disappointed when you lose control of the ball. With sheer effort, you gain the red ball. Somehow you do not feel as if it has any meaning for you. You then look and see another group of people chasing a blue ball. You think maybe it was the blue ball, not the red one, you needed to chase. You join that game and start chasing that blue ball. Eventually, you keep gathering different colored balls with enormous hard work. Somehow, you still do not get what you were promised. You then think perhaps I have given you the wrong instructions. I did not know what I was talking about. Depending on your intellectual and behavioral experiences, you may become critical, angry, judgmental, or defiant. You come back to me and say that you went to the stadium. You won all these different colored balls, and you do not feel I delivered my promise to you. I tell you, I never gave you instructions to play the game. I simply wanted you to observe how all these people wasted their time working so hard to collect different colored balls that lead to nowhere. This is how most people will spend their lifetime. We are like golden statues of divinity when we enter Maya, but we become covered with mud. We go through life continuing to cover up our divine self. Over time, when we see ourselves, we see only the mud's surface. We fail to see the gold beneath. We are all divine. We spend time in Maya packing mud all over our golden divinity. When we stop playing the game and stop donating our energy to receive more mud, the layers become finer and finer. At last, the gold shines through. Our purpose is to learn to stop playing the game of Maya. Stop donating that energy or stop paying the dues, and we will be kicked out of the club and lose our membership. Maya needs every one of us to keep donating. The greater the investment, the more powerful the illusion becomes. As we stop donating our energy to Maya, we weaken it. We can change the world of illusion. Imagine no more wars, starvation, power, and control. We all play a role in maintaining Maya in the current situation. We all work so hard to keep the game going, chasing colored balls without even recognizing or taking responsibility for our decisions. How many different colored balls have you been chasing?
Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Khalil Gibran.